Welcome back, everyone, to the Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization Show, the home of Googlization Nation, where we talk with HR and business thought leaders about the crazy shift going on all around us and explore the disruptive convergence of technology, business, and people. Here are your hosts, Ira Wolfe and Jason Cochran.
Hey, welcome everybody to a special episode of Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization. We're really excited about this. And Jason, we've been working on this for a while, and I'm going to be back in your neighborhood in less than a week. Actually, next week this time, you and I will be presenting at the Indiana SHRM Annual Conference. And,
that's right.
It's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. And it's one of the biggest in the country also. So got to give some bragging rights to JoDee Curtis, who's the conference chair. We're going to have her on in just a minute. But we got to give some props to my home state here of Indiana for putting on one of the best conventions for HR professionals in the whole world. One of the largest chapters of SHRM. And what's really exciting about this is we haven't got to really be in person for it the last couple of years. So this is going to be in person again, which I know so many folks are looking forward to. And we just want to remind all of our listeners in Googlization Nation that are tuning in today, we're going to talk about the conference. And in addition to that, learning about this amazing event next week, you can also earn SHRM credits for listening. And we're also excited to share we now have made it into the top 2.5% of all podcasts in the world in popularity. And that's all because of you, Googlization Nation. So thank you for tuning in. And we are very excited to continue bringing the latest and the best conversations with thought leaders in the world of HR as we continue to unravel everything that's going on around us and put it back together and help you become adaptable. So without further ado, Ira, I think it might be time for us to go ahead and bring the conference chair on for this year's Indiana SHRM event, which starts next Monday. Her name is JoDee Curtis. Hi, JoDee.
Hey, good morning. Good to see you guys.
Hey, good morning, JoDee. Hey, I got to tell you, this is the third or fourth year that I've been there, and again, I think it's 4 because I was there, but I wasn't really there because we did it virtual.
Right.
But last year, and this is just a testament to what you have done, and I know you've been chair for a number of years, so you and your team get a lot of credit. Last year was partially in person and partially virtual, I believe. Am I right? And we attended, and you in the past had gotten 1,500 or 1,600 people to show up. And conferences were really struggling getting people. It was difficult. And we were just a year out. People were hesitant about going to a conference. And I walked into the ballroom. I remember Adam Grant was one of your keynote speakers, and I went to see him. And I'm walking in and go, whoa, there was 900 or 1,000 people in that ballroom. And while everyone else, every other organization is really struggling bringing that number of people back to a conference. And this is in Indiana. I mean, we're not talking California, New York. We're not talking Texas. We're not talking major. We're talking about a relatively big state, but we're not talking monumental. That to have that many people be at that conference just blew my mind. I'm still talking about it, a year later. So congratulations. Proud to be coming back. Indianapolis has sort of become my second home lately. Third trip back in 4 months, and I'm excited to be there. But what a wonderful conference. So tell us a little bit about it. I mean, I mentioned Adam Grant last year. You've got some great keynoters that are going to be there this year, and we're really excited. One of them was actually a guest on Geeks Geezers Googlization, and you were a guest on Geeks Geezers Googlization as well. But you have some great keynoters, but you also have about 50 plus speakers, which includes Jason and myself and a few others. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, we have. So our conference has been around now for 27 years. And I think one of the things we did about maybe 12 years ago is decided, hey, we're going to go big or go home. And we really haven't continued to invest a lot of money in our keynote speakers, which people, see that they know we're making the investment in them to bring in the best speakers. This year, we have another great lineup. We have Scott McKain and Sage Steele. You might recognize Sage as being one of the hosts of ESPN Sports Center. She and Scott McKain both actually used to work on the news here in Indianapolis very early in their careers. So they're excited to come back. Ken Yerkes with Barnes and Thornburg. He is always a crowd favorite, and we really appreciate Barnes and Thornburg's continued partnership with us. We're having Marc Effron, Judson Lapely. Little hint, if you haven't heard of Judson Lapely, do a quick Google search on the dancing man. So you may not know his name, but when you see what he does, you're gonna all say, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy." So Val Grubb, who's spoken with us many times over the years, and our MCs this year, Jeremy York and Lindsay Picardo, also longtime favorites of HR Indiana. And then our final Wednesday keynote speaker is Doris Kearns Goodwin. So you probably recognize her. She is most famous in election years because she's a presidential historian and author. Recently, she wrote, back in 21, she wrote the book Leadership in Turbulent Times. I'm sure when she started to write it, she wasn't thinking about how turbulent the times would be for all of us. But as is typical for her, she writes mostly about presidents, and she took a look at 4 presidents in our history who really served in tumultuous times and what their leadership style was back then, and making the connection of how that style might relate to any of us in our own organizations as well. So really excited to have her in town.
And I want to say what a draw that she is. Again, we're coming out. My presentation's Monday afternoon, and when I told my wife always comes along with me. When I told her that Doris Kearns Goodwin was going to be the speaker on Wednesday, it was like, we're staying.
Oh.
So we're actually staying an extra, and through the whole conference because of that. So,
nice.
Again, a lot of great speakers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
And JoDee, of those people that you named off there, is there kind of like a central theme or certain topics right now that you're seeing are really hot when it comes to HR?
Yeah, so nothing so much central to all of the keynotes, as we intentionally try to pick keynotes who come from different backgrounds or have different stories. Doris's, of course, is around leadership in general. Scott McKain and Sage Steele will talk about some diversity, equity, and inclusion issues that Sage went through very publicly on ESPN. So we'll hear more about that. The other speakers will each give their own really twist to leadership and strategic HR, and how we can find our individual nuggets from them in our own worlds of HR.
Awesome. And then in terms of the registrations this year, registration is still open, right? Like
it
folks
is.
can still sign up. It's not too late.
Right. It's open until the last day of the conference. You can still sign up. But we are very excited to announce, and Ira, you were very close on last year's attendance. We had a little less than 1,100 people, which was down from our high of 1,500, but also a huge number post-COVID for us too. But this year we're pushing up there again. We now have over 1,400 people attending, and we typically have another 100 or more sign up even in this last week. So we'll be real close to that 1,500 number that we had when Peyton Manning was our keynote speaker that year. So
that's amazing. And JoDee, what are some memories or some interesting pieces that come along with chairing the conference? Are there certain memories or even maybe certain challenges too that have come along the way with putting on something this big?
Yeah, it has just been, this is my last year to chair the conference. I feel like it's time for someone new to take the lead. And we have two chairs, two people who will co-chair in 2023 who have been longtime committee members and will continue to host such a popular and powerful conference. But it has been, when I think of teams that I've served on, work teams or community volunteer business boards I've been on, there has been no other team in my entire life that I've worked with who is so devoted and so committed to the HR people, really, of our community, of our state, and of our surrounding states, who have really devoted a significant amount of time to making this conference the best. And even though we have many conference team members who have been on the conference committee for many years, every year we're looking to make it better and bigger and different and unique, and so that it's always a fresh look every year that people come in. Some of my personal key highlights, one I alluded to when Peyton Manning was there. I actually had the privilege and honor to interview Peyton. I also, a few years later, had the privilege of interviewing Michael J. Fox. And what an outstanding human being he is. His stories were so fun, and yet his story of his Parkinson's disease, yet so powerful as well. But truly just working with this team and putting things together and seeing it come to life on that Monday morning of the conference has been a huge thrill for me. I've been on the committee for, I think, 12 years now, and it's just a thrill every single year.
In addition to the keynotes, you have over 50, I believe, speakers.
Yes.
Different sessions.
Yeah.
I know Jason and I are sort of part one, part two, as we've been working together. So I'm talking about change readiness, no app to adapt, and Jason's talking about the 4 connections. And then sandwiched in between is another friend of ours, Kevin Grossman. And he's going to be talking. Yeah, he just came out with his new book about candidate experience. So I've been talking about candidate experience. In fact, the last couple sessions I've had out at Indiana has been about recruiting in the age of Googlization and about the candidate experience. So the real expert, the true expert from the talent board is coming out, and I've cited Kevin's work, many times. But there's a whole, we're just 3 of many different speakers out there. So can you give us a taste of, whether by name or by topic, by themes, what's going on? Because we're obviously talking about employee and candidate experience, but there's a lot of other things that go on in HR.
Yes. Well, of course, my 2 favorites just happen to be both of you will be some of our breakout speakers, but also Jeremy York has been a longtime speaker. Peggy Hogan. Peggy and Jeremy are both on my team at Purple Ink. Misty Resendez is a favorite on the Purple Ink team as well. But Jason Barnaby will be back. I see these names so many times, and then I forget sometimes who they all are. Carl Ulrichs, a longtime favorite. Vivian Blade is new to us this year. She's from the Louisville area. We always have many Barnes and Thornburg legal sessions, and those are always favorites of our people as well. To be honest, not my favorite topics on legal. I like to avoid legal things, but they're the best of the best when it comes to speaking on those legal topics, and just so many more that are coming.
Yeah, and a big shout. I mean, Vivian is another former guest, and actually becoming in September, we're going to be starting a new series just focused on Vivian.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, the Geeks Geezers and Googlization. We're going to have a new mini series. Once a week, we're going to feature an expert from a different area, and we were so impressed with Vivian, and she was impressed with us, I guess. We just agreed. So we're working on that first production right now, and we'll be talking a lot about resilience and culture and so forth. And yeah, so that'll be fun.
And JoDee,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I'd just gotten to know Vivian, and we met in April of this year as we were both speakers at the SHRM Talent Conference in Denver. And now I see we keep running into each other or being in the same place or in the same space. So I'm not surprised. She'll be a part of your show as well. So.
Isn't it funny how those circles start to shrink and shrink and shrink the more that you network? It's a beautiful thing. Right. And the breadth and depth of the folks that you just mentioned, JoDee, I mean, it showcases the variety of talent that you bring to the conference on a variety of topics. And it makes me think about Clifton Strengths. I know that you're a big fan of the Clifton Strengths. Can you talk about what are the types of strengths that you have that you've had to use to pull off something of this magnitude, to get this many amazing folks together in one location for this conference?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So I am very passionate about Clifton Strengths and understand how the key to Clifton Strengths is understanding what you do best and looking for opportunities to do more of them. And I think my top 5 strengths just so align with chairing the conference itself. So 2 of my top 5 are strategic and futuristic. So I'm always looking ahead. I'm constantly making decisions. Honestly, it's my committee that does all the legwork and all the work, but I'm a constant decision maker, right? The committee's coming back to me. I have this idea. I have that idea. I want to change this up. I want to get rid of this or add this. And so I think that future forward vision of strategic and futuristic helped me with that. Positivity is another one of my strengths, and I've certainly during COVID especially, and even last year, really had to use that positivity to keep us going, and to wonder if anyone would attend if it were virtual, or anyone would come back when we were still going through. I mean, we're still in COVID now and probably will be for the rest of our lives, but 2021 was still a little iffy there. We got real lucky on timing for that one, and we're in between 2 massive waves of COVID. So my positivity has helped. But I think the one that has really helped me the most is my number 2 strength, a ranger, which is they connect a ranger to sort of being an orchestra conductor, where you get all the right people in all the right spaces who can play well together, right? And I think that is what has happened in the last 6 years that I've chaired the conference is I've been able to bring the best of the best people into those roles and then let them go with their own ideas and their own plans to make it work. So.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing those strengths that you have and how they helped with pulling off the conference. I'm sure anyone who's listening, who's thinking about pulling off a conference, you could learn several things from JoDee, just from the things she shared, but also take a strengths profile from Clifton, and that'll help you figure out whether or not, it's something for you to jump into. Well, I know, JoDee, we're going to have several veterans, folks who have come to the conference before will be there. But I'm guessing there's also going to be a lot of new folks that are coming this year as well for the first time. And so if someone is new that's attending for the first time, what are some things that they should know or expect?
Yeah, I think a lot of times for new people, it can be a bit overwhelming, right? There's so many choices, so many different options of things they could be doing. They can go to the keynotes and pick out which breakout session they want to go to, which is sort of the standard path. Although even just choosing between the breakout sessions can be a trick, right? They've heard this speaker before, but they want to hear this new speaker. And so it's always difficult to make that choice. And I always recommend to people, if they're there with others in their organizations, to split up and go to different sessions and come back and share. But now we have a lot of other options too. We had last year for the first time what we called collaboration. Last year we called them collaboration circles. This year we've changed the format a bit and we're calling them collaboration workshops. So they're longer than a typical breakout session, and it'll be more of a facilitated topic with some really key facilitators in our community who will lead the discussion, yet also be a true workshop where people are participating and asking questions and brainstorming with other participants in their groups as well too. And then this year, for the first time, we're adding what we call the SMART stage. If both of you have been to SHRM National and seen that done there, but that's where speakers will be for just 20-minute talks on some specific topics that they can share and learn about in small bites or small segments as well too. So lots of different ways to learn and engage, but also to take a break. We have this year for the first time our new hospitality hub. So some of the things in the hospitality hub aren't new, but we're bringing people all together in one room to get our always popular massages. The SMART stage will be in there. The SHRM booths will be in there. Our bookstore we will be selling many of our own speaker books in there as well too, and just a place to relax and put your feet up for a minute or make some phone calls or whatever people need to do as well.
Definitely a first-class conference. So again, one of the many reasons I'm so grateful and happy to be coming back and looking forward to it. And I've gotten pretty selective, I think, as most people do, on where they travel to these days and which conferences they go to. So,
right.
That's incredible that you have 1,400 people, because Jason knows this too. I speak at a lot of conferences, and getting people to show up, to register, to take time out to travel, is really a challenge. And so congratulations, again. How can people get registered? Where do they go? How do they learn more about this?
Yes, so they can go to hrindianashrm.org, hrindianashrm.org. And then if they want to go right there, they can do a backslash conference. And all of the details, the agenda, the pricing, the registration are out there. So.
And is it do they have to come for all 3 days, or do you have a 1 day or 2 day pass?
You don't have to come for all 3 days, but we do not have a 1 or 2 day pass. So once you pay, you're signed up. We can't imagine that anyone would want to miss a day. So
Well, as I said, we were coming in for my presentation Monday, and we're staying to Wednesday. So
Exactly.
for good reason. We also, and we don't want to neglect them, but you also have a number of sponsors. You have an exhibit hall,
Right.
as well.
Although that's a little bit different this year too. We will not actually be having a quote exhibit hall. We've moved all of our formerly known as exhibitors are now sponsors, and they will be out in the hallways and the registrations areas where they're easier to interact with, better visibility for the sponsors, and you'll be seeing them everywhere you go. So you can stop and chat with the ones you want to learn more about, and we've made it real easy to do so.
Well, I'm sure the sponsors will like that, or the former exhibitors, because as walking into that hall was always one of those, signs. It's like, oh, we don't want to turn there because then we're going to
Right.
get sold. So
Right.
that'll
Right.
be fun. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And I've been at other conferences like that where you're walking by and eventually, you stop by and people get to know you, and it's another opportunity. It's really a more of a networking type of an environment than having this exhibit hall where all that happens is people pitching you.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Excellent. So we're getting toward the end of our 30 minutes here. We always ask this on one of the podcasts, and it turns out to be one of the favorite parts. Is there something we should have asked you that we didn't, or something that you want to share that you didn't have a chance yet?
Well, one thing you briefly mentioned and or alluded to is that I think there's lots of different reasons to come to the HR Indiana SHRM conference, or really any conference, right? Part of that is learning. Many HR professionals are looking to keep up their certification, and they need the credits. And it's a great way to get them with such outstanding speakers and sessions that they have. It's a great networking opportunity. We have a lot of people come who are looking for a new role, right? That can interact with lots of people who might be looking. Also, many people come because they're thinking about switching their payroll system or their background check company or whatever it is, and they're looking for some of those sponsors, knowing they'll all be together throughout the conference, and they can find out more information about that. And usually people have a combination of a couple of those that they can get all in one place in a 3-day period at the JW Marriott, which is not a bad place to be either. So.
Right. And I now have the website scrolling across the bottom. So for anybody who can see that, so you can go up there and link to that. Also, there isn't, I probably do at least one podcast or media interview a day. And every single day, somebody's asking about, what happened to all the workers? Where can we find people? We've never had as difficult of a time, or we're moving from the Great Resignation. We still have that, but now we have quiet quitting. People quitting in place, which I've been talking about for 25 years. JoDee, we used to call this presenteeism. Remember those days?
Right.
Remember? Yeah, I've got a chapter in my books, 20 years. The books are almost 20 years old, and
it's so funny now that they have a new title for it, that everyone thinks it's new, right?
Right, presenteeism, and before that, it was hanging around the water cooler, right? So, but again, Jason and I are talking about both the experience, about the change, about what are some of the skills that people are going to need. I'm talking about adaptability. Jason, we're talking about employee experience, candidate experience. So there's a lot of that, but also those necessary things. We've got, radical changes going on in compensation, wage inflation. That's not going away anytime fast. Equity, DEI, equality and equity. They are different. So you'll learn about that. And then just some of the nuts and bolts,
Right.
what's legal and not legal. And I don't think any of the three of us, that's our favorite topic, but it's necessary. And for
It
those
is.
and it's really one of the reasons that people show up at these events, and you have
Right.
really great people and great support for that. So we're very grateful. I'm super excited. My wife's already getting packed. We're headed out there at the end of the week to get out there, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to hearing from you guys. And if I can, this is truly from my heart. People are all looking for that magic bullet about recruiting people. And the most important part of that is candidate experience. They're so busy looking for the right answer, they're forgetting about having a positive candidate experience that people will share with other people. So love that both you guys will be hitting on that next week.
Yeah. And even more importantly, you have people. They already work for you. They're on your payroll. They chose to do that.
Right.
And so it's the employee experience.
Yes.
Maybe even more important. And not that it's more important than candidate experience. If you need to replace somebody, you got to treat people with respect and treat them fairly. But you have people right there. They're showing up.
Right.
And sometimes people get more focused on the recruitment than the retention. And so there'll be so many topics interweaving, and you got some great speakers coming in to help talk about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. Well, we're really excited to be out there. We really appreciate everybody taking a few minutes out of their day today, whether you're doing it live or a replay. Hopefully we'll see you in person out there. If you can't make it this year, then definitely mark it on your calendar. It's typically August, I think. I know it moved around for last year. But.
Right. It will be earlier next year on August 8th, 9th, and 10th of 2023.
Okay. So if you can't make it this year, put that on your calendar for next year, because it is a fabulous event. JoDee, can't wait to see you next week. And again, all my Indiana friends, my Hoosier friends, and again, this will be the third month in a row we're out there. So really appreciate the opportunity.
Nice.
So, thanks very much.
Hey, thank you. Bye.
It's going to be a blast, Ira.
It will be. So, and we get to see you. We get to be in person again.
That's right.
And we get to be in person, or not in person, but we get to be together this Wednesday, 1:00 for our Geeks Geezers and Googlization Live. We got another great guest. We've got Lou Adler coming in. Many of you may be familiar with Lou. Lou's been talking about performance-based hiring forever. When I've entered this profession 27 years ago, and he was a big name then and the big name now. So Wednesday, 1:00, Geeks Geezers and Googlization will be live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and then on all the popular podcasts after that. Any final words, Jason?
I don't think so. Looking forward to seeing you. I'll see you Wednesday for the show, obviously, but then seeing you at the Indiana SHRM convention on Monday, Ira. It's going to be a blast. Amazing speakers. Can't wait to see JoDee in person as well, and so many other familiar faces and friends that, in some ways, I've only seen them virtually, even though they're here in Indianapolis. So it's going to be fun to see folks in person. But until next time.
And we get to meet Marc Effron, Vivian, Blade, Kevin Grossman, all former guests.
JoDee Brandstetter too.
JoDee, yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be fun.
It is. So until next time, Googlization Nation, I'm Jason Cochran signing off. We want to remind you, if you haven't done so, please like or subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a rating and review. Every little bit helps so that we can continue bringing you the best and the brightest conversations in the world of HR. So until next time, I'm Jason Cochran signing off.
And I'm Ira Wolfe. And don't let the shift hit your plans.